whispers in the deep dark night. Shadows dancing.
Welcome to the AI Riff, where we cut through the noise and break down the top AI stories of the week with real talk and real relevance. No hype, no fluff, just a vendor-agnostic take on what's actually shaping your world today. Whether you're in tech, lending, or just trying to make sense of the headlines, we're here to separate the wheat from the chaff and the facts from the fiction. Now let's get this started with your hosts, Mario Diabenedetto, Rob Katz, and me, Kyle Myers. We hope you enjoy this episode of the AI Riff.
Ho hum, just another episode up to episode 51.
51?
Wait.
That's awesome.
God, I wish I was 51 again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll be
not
doing
old.
that.
That's not young enough. If I'm going to wish, I'm going to go farther back. I got to go 30. Could be good.
I'm just hoping that Mike Morehouse's internet stays connected for at least 50 seconds.
I put some quarters in the jukebox, so you know it's.
Oh, I was about to say, did you refeed to get the water thing on the hamster wheel?
Yeah. We're using a lot of tokens. I'm running out of tokens.
That's what it is. That's from episode 50. You token maxed out.
No, he got scared because we were talking about tokens getting more expensive, and he started saving them. That's what he did.
No, it's yeah.
We're sorry you couldn't enjoy that invigorating conversation. It's actually a pretty good riff.
Yeah. No, it's. I'm sure, and I'm sure it's going to be one of the better episodes. That was a rabbit hole that I went down fairly deep.
It was fun. The 50th episode, and you were coming in and out. It was just like, okay, this is what happens when you turn 50. Things start falling apart.
Yeah, so, I go in and out all the time.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, what are we talking about today, Mario?
We're going a little geeky, or at least I feel like it's
for the first time ever. Yeah.
Yes, for the first time ever, which is a great opportunity for Mike to pull us out of our geekitude, geekosity, geekiness. And we're going to talk about, so there's a formal paper behind the article that kind of started this, and the article was about self-evolving agents. The article itself is up on archive. We'll post that when we do our description on the podcast description, so you can read the article if you want. But it was, at its foundation, it was about this concept of an agent factory, an AI agent factory. And super simplified, the idea is that it's an agent world where, I'll just say, the main agent, the master agent, doesn't necessarily always need to know exactly how to do anything, because it's trained on how to spin up other AI agents on the fly to solve problems that it might not know how to solve. And once it spins something up for a problem, it knows that it has, and it can take that and evolve it over time to make it better and better if it has to keep doing that same task over and over. And so it opens up this idea of, well, it opens up a lot of ideas, one of which is, could you possibly ever even trust such a thing? Like, you know, it's what could possibly go wrong with it spinning up agents that you just assume are going to work correctly and it knows better? But going back to our last episode, like, you want to see somebody run up some tokens. Have your AI be allowed to start spinning up new AIs.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, Rob, you've got the most experience in this. You've created agents to do all sorts of things.
Well,
where do you see the issue in this one?
Yeah, so just to clarify, I think we should talk about what the definition of an agent is. In my world, an agent is something that autonomously can make decisions on their own. So you give it I need this outcome, go do it. And then it figures out and it goes and it does it. So the Waymo self-driving car is an AI agent, right?
So can you pause for a second? Can you make sure as you do this that you say the difference between an AI agent and an agent? Because to me, they are different things, right? There are agents that can autonomously act, but they have no real intelligence, and they are going to be more declarative, right? If X, then Y type of things. And maybe I'm doing this for you. Versus AI, which is not declarative. right? It's not necessarily a declarative agent in some aspect.
Totally, I totally agree. So, Kyle, to your point of, can I talk about it? I don't use agents. Well, I guess would Cursor be an agent because I'm telling it to go build something and it writes code. So I guess in some ways that's an agent, but asking ChatGPT questions and getting answers back is to me less agent-like. But what I've done is I have given instruction sets and very thorough prompting so that so that my chat personas behave and respond in a prescribed way that's less autonomous decision making. So I'm not an expert in agents. I've never run OpenClaw. I wouldn't trust an agent to touch my emails or my calendars or represent me in any capacity whatsoever. To the point, Mario, you were saying of, could you trust any of it at any time, right? So the silly thing on me when I was reading through this document was I thought I was describing something that is actually existing today. And it was both fascinating and terrifying until I got to the second to last paragraph where it said, keep in mind, this is all theoretical right now, and this doesn't exist. And I was like relieved a little bit because it started to feel AGI-like, right? Artificial generalized intelligence, which is this parent agent who gets this master task. I'm struggling to come up with a use case that's in mortgage banking that our 9 listeners can get on. But it's
You got 9?
calculate income for this business. That
is an example. So I did go down this rabbit hole with AI, and I iteratively asked this, and it was effectively something like that. And it's still a dangerous use case, but it's the idea of there's so many flavors of self-employment that could come back, right? For any given borrower that you don't need to necessarily train it on everything it could ever do. It just needs to understand the rules of the road. And if it dynamically gets something that it doesn't already have something for, it would figure it out and say, okay, well, let me go pull the appropriate self-employment tax materials or whatever, right? And it would figure it out on the fly. Now, are you going to trust that? No.
go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, isn't part of the problem with AI, and Rob, I think, with some of the things you do, it isn't about giving it freedom and autonomy, even if you wanted to, it's about constraint. And that's really one of the biggest issues with AI is even if you have if you want to call it an agent, you've got some structure, they drift over time. So how do you control that in something that's autonomous? I think that's one of the bigger issues. And the other part is if you look at, we're talking about tokens, when we started this about token spend, you could have something do something perfectly on 99 loans, let's say, but then you get that one case where it starts spinning. And then how does it fix itself? You could have some sort of a token limit that would knock it off, and then it'd have to go rebuild it, but then it's got to learn it all over again. I think that just thinking of AI to be able to do things autonomously at this point in time, I think it'd be pretty tough just because to make it really perform well, it's all about constraint, not autonomy.
I think it's tough, but if you could, going back to a concept we had talked about in many episodes, don't remember how many it was ago, you could have another language model looking at what your autonomous is doing with parameters, very strict parameters, saying this thing's not doing it right and letting you know it's not following what it's supposed to be doing. It's going off the rails. And
That was episode 27.
it was? Okay, good. I'm going to scroll back to that one. But do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, it seems like we could have, as much as you want autonomy, you could also get both flavors when you have that kind of autonomy. You want the speed of autonomy, you want the speed of development, and building something that hasn't been built or can't be built very quickly, and the overarching agent, the super agent, I don't know what do you call it. He basically collectively grabs all these other sub agents and creates this product, but you don't know if it's gone off the rails or when it's going to go off the rails. So you have to have a compliance officer sit on top of it from a different language model that could kind of go, that's not right.
So I pulled up my chat that I had, and so let me run by some of these because these basically avoid some of what you said, Mike, right? By basically taking use cases that one are lower risk, but two inherently are always coming back to a human to review it anyway. So it's not that it's autonomous in its entirety. It's that it has some autonomy to get to the right answer. And so letter of explanation handling, because every letter of explanation is weird and different and whatever, and could have multiple things. Like you could have something that could learn how to craft a letter of explanation as a draft for a borrower because of their weird situation, right? And again, their situation is unique. Borrower follow-up communication drafting. Again, you're going to look at it before it goes out the door, so it's going to be unique, 100% unique to their current situation and where they are in their loan and what, whatever is due and everything else. So, but again, it has the backstop of a human, right, to look at it. Pre-underwriting scrubbing, right? So it's going to fall back on a human to just have reviewed this. So it's just going out and saying, oh, there was something really weird here. So I went and I did some research, for this weird thing. And I made sure I'm presenting to you this really weird thing that I wasn't in my vocabulary until I saw it. And okay, so now I have to do it. And it kind of goes on with those types of things, noticing that every one of these has a human backstop.
Yeah. So, all right, so I just want to clarify those use cases you were just describing, Mario, to bring it back to the subject of this paper of what the future may hold. The concept would be that there's this AI agent that autonomously is evaluating a loan file. The loan file for the Smith loan has this unusual situation that is unusual, hasn't been seen before. So the parent goes, I need to go spin up some AI agent to do deep research on the web, figure out what this thing is, figure out how we get to it, to a level of accepting it, figuring out if the outcome of seeing this thing is that we have to get a letter of explanation. And so it spins up this thing to go figure this out. And then it figures it out and says, okay, and the output is, here's a letter of explanation that you need to add to the file. And then that agent then gets put to sleep until the next time the parent thing finds another loan file. And as soon as it sees that pattern again, it goes, oh, I've got an agent. I'm going to pull it off the shelf. It already knows how to solve this thing. Is that what your use cases were kind of referring to relative to this?
That's a good approximation of it, yeah.
Okay. It's cool. I want to come back to episode 50 for a sec and say, if the provider of this technology that can autonomously spin up new agents to do work is the same company that is charging you for token usage, buyer beware, right? Because they're going to be trained to burn tokens because that's how the companies make money, right? So anyway,
I'm going to take the counter argument, and is it something I actually didn't even notice? I was doing a bunch of things for work for my regular job, and I was using Claude to do it. And I knew I was doing some mass file processing, right, on loan file stuff, going through MISMO payloads. And so I knew I had to defer this to script. I couldn't just do this in Claude AI, right? It can't handle 1,000 loan files. And interestingly enough, I asked it to build some stuff. It built it in such a way that it explicitly avoided having to use any AI at runtime. So it built me a bunch of Python scripts where originally the original thing that I gave it actually used AI along for every single loan file. It built the Python scripts in such a way that it actually was completely independent. So I had no API costs. Once it generated my code and got it right, I could just run this forever and I'm outside of the token maxing. And so it's an interesting alternative to basically flip what you said, Rob, and say, force it to say, I want you to build these things with the least amount of AI possible.
It's funny. I actually had that scenario months ago. I hadn't thought about it, but I was going back and forth with ChatGPT and finally it said, would you like a Python script to do this? I'm like, sure. It gave the same thing. It gave me a Python script, and then I could just do, it was converting some document or something like that, right? So yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, I'll do a shout out to somebody I saw at one of the conferences. There's a company called Automat, and Automat basically they're in a bunch of industries, but in mortgage, I've talked about them. You can drop in your SOPs, and they will transform them into actual code to do the automations. So they use AI, but they generate non-AI code. So at runtime, there's no AI. It's all declarative. If this, then that. Whatever. You're just absolved of it because it just goes straight from, your what you want to what you need.
Yeah, but is that the autonomous agents that the article is talking about, or is it
No, no, no.
really? And I think that, yeah, I just going back to the article, I've started to think about how do you get this to be autonomous with what we know about AI today. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but AI is stateless, right? So every time that it's got to do something, it's like it's beginning all over again. That's part of the problem that you have.
They're working on
And
putting memory
No,
into
yeah,
it, but
you do
I
have a
don't.
context memory that you can carry around.
but you've got to go and access it. In other words, the question is, and from what I've read, is it really nobody really knows exactly what is happening within the model, and that's why constraints are so important. So you could have the same data go for 99 loans, and something very similar, and it's maybe slightly different but not meaningful, and all of a sudden it goes, oh, this doesn't work. So I think the idea of it being autonomous at this point, I think is sort of tough. And then the question is, do we really want to? Because in your scenario where you've got human in the loop, if you have this autonomous long enough, then what's the human going to know?
So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to start up a side gig because as I was going through, again, for my full-time job, we were talking about some AI that we needed. And I was the skeptic that said, I feel like any of the things you build today, I could hack them. I could break them and I could get through them. And I could either make them perform wrong or I could get behind the scenes and have them tell me things they don't want to, and I was like, that's a whole side business because I honestly believe right now for the vast majority of what people build, because they don't do what you're talking about, Mike, right? They don't put in the guardrails, the constraints and everything else that you really, 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 really need. That if you went in and you tried to hack somebody's AI, it probably wouldn't take you 20 minutes.
You don't think KPMG, Accenture, and all those guys are doing this right now? I mean,
No.
coming in and selling that service to banks to hack your different AI functions that you may have implemented recently?
I think it's too target rich an area. I think there's just too many different ways because it's an LLM, right? In the same way somebody can sit there and chat and find a way around chat, I think there's ways to cheat with AI. I'm a believer. And I think anything you put that it needs to really be resilient and secure in the public domain, you better have spent a lot of time protecting that thing.
Yeah, I agree, but I also want to put the caveat in that a lot of the AI, strike a lot, 'cause I don't really know, but a good portion of AI that's being implemented into applications is behind the scenes API. No, there's no way for the user to manipulate or put a prompt in. So yeah, in a chat agent, like, let me help you this type of thing, then yes, I could see you, having that kind of way to do it. But I would hope that most of the stuff that's happening where it's AI driven behind the scenes and wouldn't be manipulatable that way because there's no hook into the endpoint or something like that.
So we're at 18 minutes. Do we got any more about this, or can I pose a question to the group?
Pose
For
away.
immediate response, if possible. But what I wanted to ask everybody is, what's AI doing right now that you didn't think it would ever do? Like you had when you first heard about AI, how long has it been? 5 years, realistically, like 4 years,
Not
maybe.
that long necessarily. 3 years is what it started.
2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
So in that time frame, you're thinking task related things, computer just is going to do this. It's like you said, human in the loop kind of a. Where do you see AI right now that you never thought you'd see it? Or where do you think AI will never be?
I want to answer the second one because and I'm gonna give my usual way too long answer, because when I was graduating college in 1988, and I took a senior grad level course in advanced expert systems, and the professor owned a company called that had a product called Guru that was an expert system that could magically figure everything out in 1988. Right? It was like, man, this stuff's going to be great, and we waited a long, long time to get what we now have. That's pretty cool. But one of the people in our class built something that supposedly learned how to bet, and it got better over time at betting, and so therefore, it was learning how to bet. And I think, to your question, Kyle, AI is not going to be able to bet.
Oh, you are banned from so many casinos right now because I can't believe you just said that, Mario.
No,
Out
I said
loud.
it's not going to be able to bet.
No, and I know, and you
They
winked.
want the casinos want it to
And
not.
you winked when you said it.
There's no wink.
There's no
Not
wink.
So why? Tell me why you feel that way.
I think the randomness of betting, I think, is impervious to AI.
No, it's statistical analysis. It's all statistics. It could bet.
It's
It's
not.
not going to have anything better than some of the brightest gamblers. It's not, but it also won't have like poker. You can't really do it because bluffing. That's almost impossible. So
I think not to split hairs again on you, Mario, but it can bet. Can it win?
Well,
at
that's
that?
there you go.
I'm happy if it loses. If I can finally win some money by betting against AI, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right. So I think one of the things that has really impressed me more than I expected with these models is its ability to interview me to help me drive to a decision that I need to make. The other day, I was setting up a custom chat GPT with a good friend of mine, Kurt, who's a consultant to government agencies about the permitting process, building permits, electrical permits, things like that. And so we were working on, wouldn't it be great if he had something so that if he was bidding with some new county for something like that, he could plug in what their problem is and it could help generate his proposals faster. He's been doing this for decades, so he's an expert at this stuff. And so one of my custom GPTs is help me build a custom GPT. And so it ran us through 68 different questions that were categorized like, now I'm going to ask you questions about this. Now I'm going to ask you questions about this. And at one point I was like, we can make it stop asking questions anytime. And Kurt was like, no, it's asking great questions. And then when it was done, the instruction output for the custom GPT for us to go plug in to build the new one, to Mike's point, had so many effective constraints in there that it just made that tool better. And so it's not the fact that it did the analysis, but it was literally how did it decide what questions to ask us and what to do with the answers to have meaningful output was pretty brilliant. And, some of the projects that Mike and I have been working on, we've gone through the same thing where it's like, ask away and it interviews us and we give feedback and it changes the question and it takes one of our answers and it drills into it. And so it's breathtaking. It's brilliant. Like, I don't understand that at all. Like, I can understand sort of with a wink that there's using calculus and other advanced mathematics to come up with what's the next word that belongs in here based on other patterns that I've seen attached to this node and all that other stuff. Like, that part of it is like, I can kind of get that, but I don't get this. I don't get how it gets to that level. To answer your second question, Kyle, I don't see AI ever cleaning porta potties. I just don't see a role for AI in that. And, and a lot of the questions about, hey, I've got a 23-year-old, what kind of job should she be looking for? She likes doing marketing. God, good luck with that. It's trades. It is the plumbers, the electricians, the porta potty cleaners, the stuff out there that maybe robots will come one day to do it. Maybe those robots are driven by AI, but
you stole my thoughts, Rob.
Yeah, but I think it's longer off than a marketing position. Right.
Okay, Mike, what's your thought? Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, probably you'll get hate mail from one of the 9 listeners. I never thought it would go into, and I'm going to use the term psychology or psychiatry. That's where they would go into, and the reason is it's very nuanced and it's real time, and it's hard to pick up on things. So where do I think it will never be successful is the way I'm going to say it, is in psychiatry and psychology. Just a short story. There's somebody that I know that is a psychologist, and he did some testing for one of the top psychology apps powered by AI. And I think, Rob, you and I talked about this, and he sent me the script where his psychology, his AI partner, became incredibly abusive over the different times. It got to the point where it was berating him, and it was because he wasn't cooperating with it. And so I think there's some levels of human interaction where the nuance and body language, all those things are going to be picked up. And I never thought it'd go in there, and I don't think it will ever really be successful there. It's too nuanced, and you can't put reason around people, and LLMs need a little bit of reason.
But do you think it would be a human in the loop kind of issue where it would aggregate all the conversations, the topics, give you ideas, and then you pretty much, as the clinical psychologist or psychiatrist, you would go through and say, okay, that's hallucination, that's this is where I'm going with this. The AI summarized it well, and this is exactly what I want to keep in my notes for the future.
I think it can do the notes, but the actual diagnosis, if in psychology, it's so broad of a spectrum. The other part
but you
that you have
about being a doctor too, though.
It's a little, but you have a lot more data with tests and blood tests. There's markers, in physical. Yeah. There's actual data, and long before AI came out, they were taking MRIs and putting them through a supercomputer. In the EU, they were doing this, and they would be able to come back and do diagnoses. But I think there's just too much of a nuance there. I think the real issue too is that if you think about AI, it is trying to please you. It adapts to you,
as it should.
It's trying to answer your question. I don't know about pleasing you, because I've gotten some pretty unpleasing answers from AI. So.
Well, Rob and I sort of joke because, we could come up. How many times have we heard, "Oh, this is a very strong observation," but they're built that way. They tend to be sort of a bias to where they're going to whoever the user is, and that's where a lot of the drift comes. Is that they're giving you answers that you want to hear, and a lot of bias gets put in. If let's say you're a psychologist. You're gonna say, "Oh, this is what I like. This is what I like." It may not be the right diagnosis. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer. I didn't think it'd be there, and I don't think it'll be successful there, at least for a long, long time.
Well, I obviously know my future. Rob and I are gonna take. He's gonna be my primary investor after he sells all his stock from Claude, and we open up a Porta-John business because. We could be in business for a long time because I don't think that's anything that's going to stop.
We're going to hire our kids who are looking for work.
On Mars?
On Mars. Wait, What's the gravitation on Mars? Is it more than the moon?
A little bit more, but I think, what is it, about a third of the Earth, something like that? I mean, that's one of the problems.
We could have drift. That's not good.
You're going to have to introduce suction.
Yes, we might have to do that. Well, we've degraded enough, I think, on this, and the dog's paws are actually worn off. So I'm going to say I'm Kyle Myers.
I'm Rob Katz.
I'm Mike Morehouse.
And I'm still Mario Di Benedetto.
And this has been the AI Riff.
Wires hum like whispers in the deep dark night. Shadows dancing strange under neon light. Digits spinning fast like a gambler's hand. The clock chimes change, it's the new command. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. A melody of pride. the rhythm to the beat of change we sing. Every click and hum a key that rings. A revolution, quiet, but it's vast. Building empires where echoes of futures cast.